Welcome to the Scaringi Law Lunch Minute. This is the time of day when you can learn something interesting about the law while you enjoy your lunch. Every day we get questions from people all over Pennsylvania and even states outside of Pennsylvania asking about the pardons process. I'll give you a brief overview of this very powerful legal tool that may be available to you, a colleague, a friend, or even a loved one. A pardon is an act of clemency or forgiveness from the governor of Pennsylvania or the President of the United States for a person's crime or crimes. Now, in the interest of brevity, I'll focus today's talk on pardons from governors, the governor of Pennsylvania. A pardon restores to you all of the rights and privileges that have been forfeited as a result of a conviction for a criminal or other offense, and is usually the only possible means for removing the stigma of a criminal conviction. The governor's power to pardon stems from the ancient right of kings to provide absolution to their subjects. Well, what is the effect of a pardon or an expungement? If you obtain a pardon, it will relieve you from all of the legal disabilities resulting from your criminal conviction. Your status will then be the same as if you never committed the offense in the first place. After a pardon is granted, you can obtain an expungement of your record. An expungement is an order of court requiring all relevant law enforcement agencies to erase your record of conviction. The removal of records of conviction can provide many benefits, including, here are some of them: improvement of your employment, career, and promotion prospects, eligibility to obtain professional or occupational licenses, eligibility to hunt and or receive a concealed carry permit for the concealed carry of firearms, and lastly, restoration of the right to possess firearms. Well, the pardons process is this. It starts with an application, and your pardons attorney at Scaringi Law will go through the application with you. It's very detailed and complex, and will complete it for you and submit it to the Pardons Board. The Pardons Board will then conduct its review. It will start with an investigation. The Pardons Board will conduct an investigation of the facts surrounding your criminal convictions. It will even include an interview of you. The Pardons Board will then perform or write a report. Once Pardons Board agents have completed their investigation, they'll submit this report to the Pardons Board. The Pardons Board will review this report at what is referred to as a merit review of your application. If 2 out of the 5 Pardons Board members approve of your application, you'll be granted a hearing by the full Pardons Board. Now, there are no minimum eligibility requirements for applying for a pardon, nor are there criteria by which the board must examine every application. However, the Pardons Board has compiled a non-exclusive list of factors it may consider when reviewing an application. And each application is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Satisfying all of these criteria does not automatically guarantee an application will be approved, nor does failing to satisfy any one of them automatically result in a rejection of your application. Now, here are the following factors the board will consider. 1. How much time has elapsed since the commission of the crime or crimes for which you are seeking the pardon? 2. Have you complied with all of your court requirements? 3. Have you made positive changes in your life since the date of the offenses? 4. What is the specific need for clemency? That's the pardon. 5. What is the impact on the victims of the offenses? So those are the factors the Pardons Board will consider. Well, what is the process if you are granted a hearing? Well, the hearing occurs before the full Board of Pardons, which is convened and held in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court courtroom in the State Capitol Complex here in Harrisburg. There, you will be given an opportunity to tell your side of the story. The board members may ask you questions during your time. The board will then vote on whether or not to recommend your application to the governor for his consideration. Now, that will occur if you receive at least 3 out of the 5 votes of the board members to recommend your application to the governor. If recommended to the governor, he will review the application and decide whether or not to grant the pardon. It's as simple as a thumbs up or a thumbs down from the governor at that point. What happens if your application is rejected by the board or the governor? Well, if your application does not receive the necessary vote for a public hearing, doesn't receive the necessary vote for recommendation to the governor, or if the governor gives it a thumbs down, then your application has been declined. There is no appeal for you. You may reapply after waiting 1 year from the first denial and 2 years from the second or subsequent denials. Well, what happens if the governor grants your pardon? If the governor grants your pardon, the expungement process begins, and our lawyers in our firm go to all of the courts of common pleas in which there exist criminal records for which you've obtained a pardon, and then we file petitions to have the judges expunge and erase those records. Well, how long will my pardons case take? Well, due to the high volume of pardons applications, the process is lengthy. It can take approximately 2 to 3 years from the time an application is submitted until it is before the Board of Pardons for merit review. And then another 1 to 2 months for a hearing if the board approves a hearing during its merit review. And then it can take anywhere from 2 months to 12 months for the governor to render his decision should the board approve your application. Well, Scaringi Law is one of Pennsylvania's leading law firms in pardons and expungement law. If you, a colleague, a friend, or a loved one has a criminal conviction on your record, you should contact Scaringi Law to find out whether you have a case for a pardon. A clean criminal record can open up all kinds of doors and opportunities for you or your friend or loved one moving forward. It's well worth a phone call. You're welcome to call Scaringi Law at 717-657-7770 to find out more about the pardons process. Well, that's all the time we have today for the Scaringi Law Lunch Minute. I hope you have learned something about pardons, and I hope you enjoy your lunch.